And welcome back to The Gist. I'm joined by Bishop Byrne, the new bishop of the Diocese of Springfield, my bishop. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here, Carolee.
So it's really exciting. You've been the bishop now for just about a year. Tell me about the year. I know you came in the midst of the pandemic, and there's a lot of different things that are going on in our diocese. How's it been?
It's been exciting and challenging and wonderful all at the same time. You know, a year ago and a little bit over a year ago, I was a parish priest in Washington, D.C. One phone call later, my whole world is different. And now I'm living in Western Massachusetts. And so my number one job has been to fall in love with the people of Western Massachusetts. So check, I've done that.
Absolutely, and you have Zelly with you
My
often,
dog, Zelly.
Right, dog Zelly. So tell me a little bit about Zelly. I know she's not with us, but we're going to throw up a picture of her. She's named after Saint
Zelly Martin. So the mother of Saint Therese of Lisieux. The parents, Zelly and Louis Martin, were canonized by Pope Francis. And I just love the name and wanted to honor the saint. What better way to honor a saint than name your dog after it?
Absolutely, and I know she's a huge draw, especially when you're visiting the schools as well.
She is always with me.
Tell me a little bit about your book. You wrote a book before you became bishop, 5 Things with Father Bill. You're also a YouTube star as well, and very good at social media, I have to add. Where did that come from?
Well, the book started as a series of articles that I had written, 5 things, and then we compiled them into the book. In the meantime, when I was down in Washington, a real gifted video guy helped me pull it all together, and we did these fun videos and started posting them on YouTube.
And they were a huge hit, and I know that you're still doing a lot on social media. I know in our diocese, and you know, you think about social media, but it's such a valuable tool when you talk about evangelization. And you've done a whole series for Lent. You do things for the different saint days. What's the feedback that you get from people?
Well, I think this is where people are. I lived during the pandemic when I was in Washington. They closed the seminary, and 3 seminarians were assigned to live with me. And when I'd walk into a room, all 3 of them would be like this. And I realized this is where people are. This is how you get their attention. And so I've been doing a lot of Instagram stuff.
You have a lot of followers.
Bishop W.D. Byrne.
Pretty impressive.
And actually, I was talking to a kid at Frigo's, you know, our beloved Italian place in off of Main Street in Springfield. And the kid was saying, "Hey, Bishop, I saw you. You got more followers than I do." It's like, well, that's it.
That's
you
pretty
got
good.
it.
That's pretty good. So, I mean, I love to hear the different the feast days, you know, the St. John Paul II, any of the ones that do. They're very educational, I think, for people, and people also learn a lot from that. But it also, again, feeds to that younger, I don't want to say audience, but the younger part of our church. And I know that in your first pastoral letter, one of the things that you said was you really wanted to focus on the youth. Tell me a little bit about the importance of really building up the youth in our church.
Well, they're not the future, they're also the present of our church. Whenever I go to a confirmation, I say to them, you know, you're being sent now, but you're special ops. You're going into the high school. I can't show up in the high school and start preaching, but you can start bringing people love and faith and hope just by being there, and so it's about hopefully lighting a fire in their hearts that maybe they will spread with their friends and their family.
And their family especially. I would say lighting a fire in their hearts and hopefully, I guess, in their parents as well, because we know, unfortunately, a lot of times after confirmation, kids like kind of check it off, or families do.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was just a graduation. It's not a graduation.
No, it's the first day. But also I think we're trying to, you know, the young people, they don't have any agenda with regard to the church. Their parents might, their grandparents might. So if we want to evangelize the family, what if we started not from the top down, but from the bottom up? We can really transform, I think, families' lives.
I think that's a great idea. Something else that you've done during the pandemic, and you know, there's been a lot of challenges for so many people. It's been a hard year, I would say, just if you look at social media or the media in general, there's a lot of discord. But you always seem to come to any situation with a smile. And when you're preaching, you're talking about bringing that light and love of Jesus. Sometimes that can be really challenging. But if you could encourage Catholics who are in the pews every single Sunday, how do we do that? How do we be the light of Jesus in a world where we get annoyed.
St. John of the Cross said, if you come into a situation and you don't find love, bring love, and then you're going to find it. And so I feel that hope, we're in a crisis of hope right now. And that's blocked people from believing that things can ever be better and that God will always win. So I say, I bring hope. I'm chronically hopeful. My motto is in spem vivam, which means into a living hope we have been reborn through the resurrection of Christ. So I say, bring faith if you don't find it, bring hope if you don't find it, bring love. And that's what I try to do in every encounter that I have.
And I would say you certainly do. I think people get pretty jazzed up when they hear you talk. And something else, when you were talking about special ops, it's one of my favorite things that I've ever heard you say. You also talk about that in terms of vocations. Now, here you are, the baby of 8 children in your family. Your mom did okay, right? Here she has
mom and dad. Dad gets credit also.
Dad gets credit also. Here you have a bishop, I know, and your sister is Sister
Sister Deirdre Byrne,
How does that happen, and how do you help encourage families to be open to vocations for their children?
Well, I mean, my parents were daily communicants. They both went, my dad went to 6:45, my mom went to 9. They were the most normal, fun parents you could imagine, but they were always rooted in the Eucharist. And it's funny, somebody said, oh, families should go to Mass. We never went to Mass together because my dad was a doctor. He was on call, all different schedules. We just had to go. And at certain times you had to show up with a bulletin to make sure you
to check it off to make sure.
To show mom that you actually made it. But I think that was the example that they set of just loving the faith. And it was one of those things where it was never questioned. It was never something that we ever thought about. I've seen parents that are critical of the faith or of the Pope or whatever. And that sends a message. And my parents were never like that. Praise God. My dad's with the Lord now, but my mom's still at 98, living by herself, going strong.
And beautiful. God bless her. And I have to add, you also fostered 14 vocations, am I correct, when you were at the University of Maryland?
University of Maryland,
Incredible.
And then several at different parishes after that.
So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk to you more in a different segment of our show, but we want to thank you so much for being here today.